excited to be here on this post-bye week edition of Vikings Rant, heading in to Week 10 of the NFL.
Yes, and you know what? 10 is bigger than 9.
Exactly, and hopefully this week the Vikings wins will be greater than 6.
I hope so too, Nathan. I hope it's about the number of 7.
7 would be great. 8, even better, if possible. All right, we have lots of exciting things to talk about today, including big news in the quarterback situation, Dirk.
Teddy Bridgewater!
Yes, and like we said last week's podcast, we do anticipate him to be back this week, and he is indeed back. Though, Mike Zimmer has already announced on yesterday, Wednesday, that Teddy Bridgewater will be the backup for this game, and Case Keenum will be the starter.
I think that's actually a smart move, Nathan. I think, it's you have a rhythm going with Case right now, and while we both would love to see Teddy out on the field more than we would like to see Case, you're 6-2 with Case Keenum. Actually, 5-2 with Case Keenum. You're 6-2, well ahead in the NFC North right now at this moment. We know Detroit has an easy schedule coming up, but with Case right now winning games, doing a solid job, I think leaving Case in there, not disrupting the team chemistry, is the best option for this week.
Yes, Dirk, you're probably right, and Mike Zimmer will, again, be employing that philosophy, though there is no guarantee that we will not see Teddy Bridgewater at some point during the Redskins if things do proceed to go south. All right, other big news with that quarterback situation, Sam Bradford placed on IR this week to move and make room for Teddy Bridgewater being promoted to the active roster. This after Sam Bradford received a little bit of knee treatment from his doctor. Dirk, what's your feeling about this?
I think Sam Bradford has played his final game in a Minnesota Vikings uniform. I think the injury that happened to his knee is what you feared last year with Bradford. Some tiny little tic-tac injury that really shouldn't have hurt much ended up hurting a lot because, as I've said before on this podcast, Sam Bradford is basically a walking version of paper mache. So,
yes, and it's too bad because Sam Bradford did have some good games for us, and he was looking encouraging in that Saints game against what turned out to be a good Saints defense, as I said at the time. All right, so...
Did you say that at the time, though? Did you really say that? Because I thought I remember, wow, the Saints defense is awful.
No, I said they're going to say the Saints defense is awful because our awful offense took care of them.
Yes.
But, as it turns out, our offense is not that bad, and neither is the Saints defense.
No, but once again with Sam Bradford, I think it's the final game because I don't think you want to repay a quarterback who's only played one game for you this season. Actually 2 games, and against Chicago, he looked awful. So I think also you don't want to get Bradford's going to ask for a lot. You're not going to want to get Bradford a lot. Going into the offseason, Bridgewater will get re-signed for certain, I think. I think they will try to re-sign Keenum, but who knows? Maybe we go after one of these free agent quarterbacks. I personally think Kirk Cousins or Drew Brees, 2 of the top free agent quarterbacks, would be a bit of a reach for the Vikings money-wise, and I don't think we'd be able to land them. So I think we'll try to sign Case, but I think Teddy for sure will be back next season.
Yes, and I do anticipate that Teddy Bridgewater will start at some point before the end of this season, and that he will have good games, as we knew he could. All right, so looking at what happened during the bye week, obviously the Minnesota Vikings remain 6-2. They did not lose, but they did not win. Our place in division, actually, our leadership in the division has been more clearly lined up now because while Detroit is a little bit closer, we are now 2 games ahead of every other team in our division. So that is official now, Dirk.
It is official. 2-game lead, and it's a nice little cushion to have coming out of the bye, especially with the 5 games we have coming up.
They look bad on paper, but in general, they're not going to be too awful, hopefully. We are favored to win most of them, and we have a good chance of winning all of them.
So since we, even though our favorite Minnesota Vikings did not play this weekend, there were still NFL teams that played football this weekend. And from analysis of that, it went pretty much as planned. It was one of the worst weeks of the season in terms of good games on the field.
Yeah, the Broncos further prove that they are so much worse than they were in the Super Bowl by giving up 51 points to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I know what you're saying, the Broncos, they have an elite defense. Well, here's my opinion about that. If you have an elite defense, there's no way it should ever give up 51 points, no matter how much your offense turns it over.
It should not give up 51 points, even to an offense that is as good as Philadelphia's.
No top-of-the-line defense should ever give up more than 30 points.
That's very true.
It's just how it is. And so now we're seeing defenses that we have the presumption are elite giving up that on a weekly basis. Look at Seattle. They gave up how many points to the Texans a few weeks ago?
40-some, 30, high 30s, yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. So they're falling down. And we're starting to see that these defenses we're shifting. We're shifting from what was a premium defense in the league 2 or 3 or even 4 years ago, and now it's much different. What a premium defense is now. I mean, premium defenses now are the Vikings, the Jaguars. I don't know any other ones.
Vikings, Jaguars.
Not really.
Let me think. I mean, the Bears' defense is on the rise, but I would not call them elite.
They have
Philadelphia's defense is not bad this season.
The secondary leaves
Dallas's defense has improved, but that's not elite. Seattle's defense, I think, is still good besides that one game.
All right, and obviously the big game that mattered for us this weekend, Lions versus Packers. And Dirk, the Packers look bad. They look very bad.
They look very bad. They looked the way that I thought they would. They came out and laid an egg against the Detroit Lions at home. That's the first win for Detroit at Lambeau Field, I think, since the 90s.
No, I think they won one a few years ago.
Well, whatever. Anyway, so Detroit looks to have an offensive groove back, which is going to be tough for the division. But Green Bay, if you're Green Bay, you are officially done. You are officially done if you are Green Bay. I do not care. If you beat the Chicago Bears this week, you are done. This team right now is so bad on defense, is so inconsistent on offense, they might lose to the Cleveland Browns. And if they lose to the Cleveland Browns, the Vikings can lose by 50 that week. I'm still going to be happy.
I don't think that it's without possibility that the Packers find themselves towards the 30s in the power rankings towards the end of the season. I could supremely see them losing every game from here on out. Their defense is so god-awful, and they've done so little to improve it. They need to fire Dom Capers. He's just bad. His schemes don't work anymore. He's not developing new players. And their offense is struggling as well. And big news for the Packers this week as they cut Martellus Bennett, someone who really had not done what they thought he was going to do for them.
No, even with Aaron Rodgers, he was not doing anything.
He was dropping balls. He caught no touchdowns yet, which... with tight ends, you're always going to be looking for touchdowns.
Yeah, which, I mean, Green Bay is just bad. I think they will lose to Chicago this week as well.
They are a piping hot mess. And yes, I do think Mitchell Trubisky might deliver another win for the Bears as a starter for them.
Stop, Bears.
Yeah, and hopefully Mitchell Trubisky doesn't turn out to be that good, which so far it looks like that might happen. But we just want him to be good enough to beat the other teams in our division.
Right.
The Lions, on the other hand, Dirk, they looked okay. In my humble and very unbiased opinion, the Lions did not look that good in a game when on paper they should have looked good because they destroyed the Packers, but they constantly showed that they could not run the ball more than, say, 4 yards.
Well, that's not a running team.
But, Dirk, against a team like the Vikings, you have to be able to run the ball. Because if the Vikings can sit back and play coverage the whole time, you're screwed. Because they're so good at playing coverage, you have to require them to blitz.
Matthew Stafford isn't going to get that near perfect game he had on Monday night against us.
That's true. Seriously, he must have 4 or 5 passes was all that he didn't complete. So it was a good game for Matthew Stafford. Good game to have him on my fantasy team. So yeah, that was a big game happening for our division this week. Very big.
Very big.
And the Bears, again, were on the bye, so they remain. But the Bears are still very distant from us. Though they will have the same record as the Packers if they can pull out the win this week.
Which is embarrassing for the Packers.
The Packers, as we've said, are awful. They have not been doing a great job drafting, and it's biting them in the butt. You can't rely on Aaron Rodgers every week to pull a rabbit out of his hat.
No, Aaron Rodgers isn't even on the field anymore. Now they have a quarterback. Remember when all our Packers fans we knew said Brett Hundley was a good quarterback, and now he's just awful?
He is exactly what we thought he would be.
Awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's exactly what we thought it would be.
All right, so obviously bye week was pretty boring, but now we're looking ahead. A lot of injuries, Dirk.
On Vikings and Redskins?
A lot of injuries for the Vikings right now. We're still looking at Mike Remmers with a concussion. He's missed both practices so far this week, and we thought he would be back. I remember myself saying, well, Mike Remmers will be back, no problem. Concussion's a 1-week deal. Well, he's still struggling from the concussion, so obviously we're a little worried about that. Obviously, there's still a chance that he comes back. They're just taking it really slow with this concussion protocol, but he has not been cleared to go yet, so we are still waiting for that.
No, and he's not even been at practice. Whereas on the other injury that was surprising, Everson Griffin's foot injury he suffered at the end of the Browns, Griffin has not technically practiced the past 2 days, except for today was reported by the Minnesota's Pioneer Press and Star Tribune that he did, however, go out there and do a lot of footwork drills, including get-offs and sprints and other stuff in his pads, I'm pretty certain, and he joined the team for stretching.
So, yeah, Everson Griffin is also big injury news this week. Hopefully, he will also be playing. He just needs to continue to rest up that foot, and hopefully we see him back for the game. Other big news, people coming back. We have starting left guard Nick Easton. Looks like he will be back to start this week. So we will have at least 4/5 of our offensive line RTG, which is good because, as we remember last season, we had 0/5 of our offensive line RTG. So,
and
we're looking forward to that.
We should have Andrew Sendejo back from suspension.
Yeah, unless they randomly decide to spend him a second game.
Which honestly might happen. Or just might
Considering how ridiculous the first suspension was, that's true.
Yeah.
So, moral of the story, the Vikings are healing up. Teddy Bridgewater is back and ready to go whenever Case Keenum tears his ACL and goes down.
Oh, Nathan, what did you just say there? Nathan, what the?
I shouldn't have said that. I'm not hoping for Case Keenum to get injured in the middle of the game so Teddy Bridgewater can start and show how great he is.
I hope you're not hoping for that.
I would never root for that. I love Case Keenum and how great he's been, you know?
Yeah.
He's only lost his 2 games completely. But
yeah,
he's been playing great.
Yeah, I mean, he's won us 5.
You're right.
Yep.
All right.
This is awkward.
With that, I guess it's time for Nice Words with Isaac. And now it's time for Nice Words with Isaac.
Well, as we've been saying, this week, something happened that will change the course of the Vikings for a long time. Teddy Bridgewater is back, and that is really exciting, as we would all agree. And it definitely is gonna affect the Vikings for a while here, because either he'll be our franchise quarterback for a long time, or it'll be a big blow up and he'll do terrible and we'll have to find a new quarterback. But either way, a big thing in Vikings history happened this week, and this big thing kind of kicked someone to the curb, and that is Sam Bradford. And while he'll be all right, we got to feel for him a little bit. And this week, I am definitely dedicating my Nice Words segment to Sam Bradford. I am so appreciative of what Sam has brought to Minnesota. Last year, when Teddy Bridgewater went down, we were devastated. I remember that. We were in college right at that point. We had just showed up, and it was just terrible.
We all got updates, and we were just like...
And we were sad.
It was devastating.
What is this? We
barely knew each other, and yet that brought us together because it was so disappointing. And then the trade of all trades happens. We throw away some major picks to get Sam Bradford. And it was really crazy. And while we were so unsure of what happened, we never knew if it'd be a good call, if the Eagles would wind up better than us, which, is debatable right now if they came out better or if we did. They probably did, but not by, a long shot. But I sit here very satisfied with what Sam Bradford brought to our team. For a year, he took a Vikings narrative that was, this year is done for and terrible because our franchise quarterback is lost. A narrative of this year has no chance. A narrative of this is just classic Vikings. They get good things and then it's over. He changed that narrative to this team is still special. It still can be special. and it still will be special. And for that, I got to thank Sam Bradford. He had a pretty solid year last year. He had a great week 1. Put some hope in us, and sure it went away, but at least set the stage for this year when we're going to have a lot of good things, and it's still going. We're having a great year, and that's awesome. But overall, I think Sam Bradford gave us so much hope and excitement when we thought we'd have none, and I got to say thank you, Sam Bradford. While you'll probably never play another down in a Vikings jersey, I wish you the best. Hopefully you get some money. You probably won't be worth much now because your knee is crap, but that's okay. You made a lot of money in your career. Good for you. Thanks for your time here. See you next time. Or never.
Yes, and those nice words from Isaac Logeman today. Sam Bradford, again, going 9-8 as a starter. So there's that.
I'm going to pick up the energy here by saying that I don't think Sam Bradford gets re-signed except for by the Walmart cashiers.
By any team?
Dirk, he's going to get re-signed.
Not by us.
Not by us. I don't think with us.
The Browns are perfect for him.
The Browns.
He will be quarterbacking a team next year. Or at least a backup.
I definitely think he will get signed next year unless he decides to go into early retirement, which if his knee takes another turn south, there's a good chance that happens.
It's kind of like ironic that you say turn south because he went down south to get the knee surgery.
Classic. Yeah, I was reading an article last night, like I always do. Especially when we get better, this is bad because we started off not as good this year, and so I wasn't into them. But now we're good, and I'm back into these articles.
For those of you who've been listening to the podcast and don't know much about Isaac catches up on all his Vikings articles. Sometimes too many Vikings articles.
Let's just say if you publish a Vikings article, it's about 95.5 that Isaac reads it.
At 3 a.m.
And I'll enjoy it, and I won't do homework because of it.
At 3 a.m.
But anyway, I was reading a great article. This one was actually a good article. It was a timeline of Teddy Bridgewater's injury and recovery. It was fascinating, and it made me realize a lot of time has gone by since he got hurt. But I loved, they said when Teddy went down and then a few days later we got Sam, they had a picture of Sam in his first interview or media day with the Vikings. And he was there and he just looks like a little kid. He was all clean shaven and it was good to reminisce on those good old days.
Yes, back when Sam Bradford was young a whole year ago.
Yeah.
I am also clean shaven.
Those were the days. All right, so Teddy Bridgewater is back, and he had a meeting with the media today, and he talked about his confidence and how, and a lot of people asked him, how are you feeling? Are you worried at all when you see the spot or run that play? And he repeatedly insisted that he feels nothing different from what he felt before. That he feels like he's out there playing football again, and it's life is how it's supposed to be. And I'm not saying that his words can by any means silence our concerns about what he might do while he's on the playing field, but he certainly does seem like a man who's confident and ready to go.
I would definitely agree with you on that. I definitely think he's confident, ready to go. They would not have activated him if he was not ready to go. So Teddy wants to get back out there, but I think he realizes that right now Mike wants to go with Case and that he will be a man about it and sit back until Case starts to suck, and then
Mike Zimmer in no way said that Case is the all-time starter for the rest of the season.
No.
He has insisted that it is just this game. They just want to give Teddy one more week, and then they'll see if they think he's ready to go against the Rams next week, which I project that they will. I think we will see Teddy Bridgewater starting against the Rams next week.
And then we will beat them.
I'm unsure about that. But I think when you say that Teddy says he's really confident, yeah, he probably is feeling confident. I'm sure that's pretty accurate, but everyone's going to say that. And I think what we need to do is we need to get Teddy Bridgewater into a game not as a starter. I think that'd be the best case scenario. Like, let's say Case plays this week and we're beating the Redskins by 14 points in the
which
third,
there is
fourth
a good
quarter.
chance we're doing
There's
that.
A good chance.
Yeah.
If we can throw Bridgewater in for a quarter and let him play a little bit, it doesn't matter as much, and give him some real game opportunity, then we'll see for sure if he's really, actually telling the truth about, I'm not scared about people running at my knee.
Thing is, though, if Case wins this week, do you really tell Case he's not going to start versus Los Angeles?
Yes, I think you do. I think that's the perfect game because it's his old team, and he's going to want to go out and prove that they chose the wrong guy. And he's going to go out there and he's going to make all kinds of mistakes, and he's going to look bad. This is a good Los Angeles Rams team. Granted, we have a good defense. We should have no problem stopping them. And like I said, I guarantee you Mike Zimmer spent his bye week researching the Rams. But long story short, Case Keenum is going to want to destroy the Los Angeles Rams, but he is not able to do that because it is not in his realm of capabilities. He is purely able to manage a game that we are winning.
It all depends on this week, though. If Case goes out and has a game like he did against the Buccaneers, you can't pull him.
Yes,
if he has a game like
he
did against, let's say, what's one of his mediocre games?
Detroit, where we lost.
Detroit for sure.
Purely because he couldn't do anything.
I think if we lose this week, Bridgewater's in. But I think even if Case Keenum wins a close game that's not super great, it's a talk. But if Case Keenum kills it this week, you just can't pull him.
If Case Keenum has another game like he did against the Bucs, which he will not because the Bucs are bad, and that is why that happened. They played bad. Anyways, if he has a game against what is a Redskins stout defense, like he did against the Bucs, okay, maybe you got me. I think there's no doubt he's the starter for the Rams game and probably the 3-game road stretch as well. But that is likely not to happen, and I think more likely than not, this is a close game that comes down to 3 or 4 points, and Case Keenum might lose it because of those 3 points, and I think that's a guarantee we see Teddy Bridgewater the next week. And even if he wins it, I still think it's a guarantee we see him next week if it's a close game.
How much more pressure, though, is on Case Keenum this week? Because, the past few weeks, you haven't had a backup quarterback who would, replace you if you did bad. Nobody wants Kyle Slaughter. Now you got a Vikings fan base, and I would say 70% of them want Teddy Bridgewater. So literally, if Keenum got 2 straight 3-and-outs, say at home week 11 against the Rams, you'd hear the "We Want Teddy" chant ringing throughout the stadium.
Yes, that is a guarantee.
So I am interested to either see if Case buckles under pressure of remaining the starter with Bridgewater on his tail, or if he uses it as motivation and comes out like a gunslinger that we have never seen before.
And Dirk, I think you bring up another great point. Mike Zimmer knows going into the Rams game that people are going to want to see Teddy. That's why they're buying tickets. That's why ticket prices has skyrocketed. Not just because the Rams are a good team this year and it figures to be a good game, but because people want to see Teddy Bridgewater in his first game back. Now, listen to what I'm about to say. He knows they're going to want to see it. And if things go bad for Case Keenum, it's going to be even harder to get the crowd around them. You might even hear some boos if he comes back on the field. So, Mike Zimmer, anticipating that, wants to get his guy, Teddy Bridgewater, who he has already said before, he wants him to be his franchise quarterback as he coaches for the next 10 years and Teddy plays for the next 10 years. All of that, he wants that to happen. And he wants it to happen in front of a home crowd who's excited to see him.
He may want to put Bridgewater in, but Mike Zimmer does not care at all the crowd's perception. I mean, he cares that the crowd likes the Vikings. I don't know. But he's not going to put Bridgewater in to please the crowd. I do not see Zimmer doing that.
I think
he'll do it if he wants Bridgewater to be the guy and he needs to see it, but he's not going to do it because, they're booing Case Keenum.
Zimmer does not give an F about what you think.
Here's the thing about Zimmer. He's said it multiple times that the crowd noise at US Bank Stadium is very important to our games. How do you get the crowd more behind games? Put in a quarterback that is as competent, if not more competent, than the quarterback we're starting now that the crowd can get behind.
Well, to counter, boos are just as loud as cheers, and maybe even louder. You're going purely for crowd noise.
But we want the stadium to be silent when we're on offense.
I suppose you're right.
If they're booing, then, well...
The only thing I will say is I kind of want Teddy to start that game or some reason come in at a half, because I need the Hollywood movie script to give to my cousin out there of Teddy Bridgewater coming back from gruesome injury goes and wins the Super Bowl.
Here's what I think for me, the optimal situation. I think we should get Teddy Bridgewater to be the go-ahead starter, the leader by the Falcons game. Because that's probably the easier game in this stretch right here.
No, Redskins I think is the easiest.
I think Redskins and Detroit are arguably some of our easiest games.
I think Detroit's going to be a tough outing.
Here's the thing.
On Thanksgiving, at Detroit,
they normally lose there.
Detroit is not any different home than they are away. Their crowd is not that good. And to be honest, facing Detroit, you might as well be facing them at home if you're playing them in their home.
But they're not a pushover. Detroit is not a pushover.
They are, in some ways, a pushover.
We've lost to them 3 straight times.
They are going to be a pushover by the time we face them.
They just beat the Packers.
They're going to lose to the Browns this week.
The Packers are,
I would
the
love
Packers are bad. Are you kidding me?
No, but I think the Falcons are pretty inconsistent. Yes, they show signs of being great at times, but they also look terrible at times. And so I think if we get Case to pull out a win against the Redskins, if he plays against the Rams and Teddy maybe gets in at the end, and then Case plays the Lions game, I think Teddy's ready at that point. I think we put him in, and then Teddy finishes 5 games of the season, which is a significant chunk, gives him the momentum he needs to get into the playoffs and make a little run.
Let me give you one more point before we move on, why I think Teddy starts at U.S. Bank Stadium next week. U.S. Bank Stadium is a turf field. It is an artificial turf field, which is better for people who are coming off knee injuries. And you're seeing U.S. Bank Stadium, Ford Field, and the Falcons' new stadium. That's 3 great turfs in a row for him to get back on, ease back on, before he has to go on a rough Carolina turf. And so if we want him to start, say, a game like Carolina, it would be better for him to start on a terrain that he's more comfortable and get practice with that. And I think we all know that Teddy Bridgewater's favorables are much better than Case Keenum's.
I think I actually will agree with you on the turf one. I like that idea better than starting him off on a very bad grass field like Washington.
Yes.
So, Dirk, Nathan says that Teddy Bridgewater will be the starter, the guy, by November 19th against the Rams. I say Teddy Bridgewater will be the guy by December 3rd against the Falcons. What do you think?
I think somewhere in there, because I think Case gets one more loss, and then I think he gets pulled.
Now you say somewhere in there. Did I ask for a 3-week range? No.
It's
what
somewhere
day is he the guy?
Pick a game.
Halftime of the Rams game.
And then he goes. Then he's it.
I don't think we're getting blown out at halftime of the Rams game, but I think it'll be something like the offense is stagnant. We're down by 3 or 7 points.
And that I could see that a lot more than him starting the Rams game. I'd actually prefer Bridgewater to start playing not as a starter.
And then Teddy throws 5 touchdowns, and we all freak out.
Can you imagine if Bridgewater throws 5 touchdowns in a game or a couple and a half? People will just be off the rails.
All right, well, looking ahead to this week specifically, as we are now finally back into a regular season game that we actually have in an upcoming week, unlike a bye week, which we just came off of. So,
can we get a W for our bye week?
We get a T. We get a T. It doesn't go on the record, but it's a T.
Oh.
All right, so we're looking ahead, and it's now Vikings versus Redskins. An interesting game. The Redskins coming off a big win at Seattle at Seattle's home stadium last week. Kirk Cousins played pretty bad the whole game, but then led them on a game-winning drive. So here's the question. Can he do that against what is a more stout Vikings defense?
Well, first off, I think from watching part of last week's game, they should have lost. I mean, Blair Walsh misses 3 field goals.
Which Seattle deserves, because why would you sign a kicker that is historically awful?
The funniest headline of
What has Blair Walsh ever missed in a big-time moment in his life?
Wow, I can only think. 26 yards?
All I'm saying is, I hope that we face the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game this week.
And Blair Walsh misses the game winner.
Yes.
Woo!
I hope that happens.
That would be thrilling.
That would be basically what the Seahawks deserve. You should learn your lesson.
But looking ahead to the Redskins, we are both two teams battling some injuries right now. Like, what the actual heck is Everson Griffin's foot injury?
You need to get over that, my friend. I think you'll be back.
I think he'll be back too,
Honestly,
but I am always nervous. As a former football player who knows the game well, I am always nervous when I see my people on my team sitting out 2 straight days of practice.
To be perfectly honest, I am not worried. He is just resting it up. He does not want it to be hurting by the time he gets to a game, and I don't think it will be. To be honest, to say that the Vikings are an injury-ridden team at this point is a bit of an exaggeration, because for the most part, we are a healthy team, with the exception of a Dalvin Cook ACL injury and a few minor injuries that might linger into the game this week, but chances are that they will be back. So,
and every team, I agree, every team has those
every team has
bruises.
Injuries, but we are not that badly injured compared to some teams.
I never said we were that badly.
So I'm not looking at injuries being a big component of the game this week. The Redskins do have a stout defense, Dirk.
They do have a solid defense. Ryan Kerrigan and Josh Norman, 2 of the bigger names that you should know.
And Josh Norman has commercials, so that means he has to be good.
That means he has to be good. And Chris Baker at nose guard is underrated. Watch out for him. But as we said, we should have at least 4 of our 5 starters on the offensive line. The only question mark is Remmers, who's still in concussion protocol. But then again, Barr was in concussion protocol until about today or Friday, that 1 week. Friday.
Right after the Packers game, but he did indeed play that Sunday.
But he did play, so Remmers still has a chance.
Remmers has had 2 weeks, so there's a very good chance that he will be back this week.
And the Redskins' offensive line, if we were talking about defense, even if Everson Griffin weren't to play, we still have very good defensive linemen like Linval Joseph and Danielle Hunter, and that offensive line is beat up. Brandon Sheriff is questionable. Morgan Moses is questionable. Jordan Reed sat out last game as well. He's questionable. And Trent Williams, their best offensive lineman, left tackle, has not practiced at all this week.
Here's why Everson Griffin can't miss the game. If Everson Griffin misses the game, he can't get a sack. He can't break the record.
We need that streak to keep going, hopefully all season. All right, bold predictions for this game.
Well,
score predictions.
Well, first off, I want to talk about how our defense matches up against the rest of their offense. Washington, Kirk Cousins is not having a great season. I would know because Kirk Cousins is on my fantasy team. So I think we can shut down Washington's run game. And I think we can cover their receivers well. They don't use their receivers well. And if Jordan Reed is out, then that means they really only have one tight end to go to. And that is Vernon Davis. And when we are on offense, I think we'll be able to run the ball well. And I don't think their defensive backs are that good besides Norman.
Yes. So, predictions, I guess.
Oh, okay.
After that insight from Dirk, Isaac.
Looking bold or game prediction?
A little bit of both.
Okay, here's my bold prediction. I think Everson Griffin's going to play the game, and I'm going to say he gets a pick 6. I think this week it's a great play. He's going to be off the side, and it's going to tip, and he's going to grab it. But here's why I think it'll be really cool, because if he gets a pick 6, I think he'll really be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. And right now he's around that, but he's not really getting, I think, the fair representation he should. So a pick 6 should seal it up, and he should at least be a top candidate for that award.
Wow, that came out of left field. I did not see that.
I did not see that one coming either.
All right, so Isaac's bold prediction for this week: Everson Griffin gets a pick 6. Not only does he come back from injury, but he gets a pick 6 and his sack.
And my score prediction: I think we're going to pull it out. I think it's going to be a tough game, but they've learned their lesson. And if we don't win, everyone's going to say, "Oh, here we go again." And so the players know that, and they want to make sure they come out strong. So I'm going to say we don't score too many, but we keep them low, so it's going to be a 24-17 win.
Washington is a very inconsistent team. And before I get to my actual prediction, I'm going to make my bold prediction. I saw in the weight room today that Kyle Rudolph was a projected breakout player by ESPN, which means he will not have a breakout game because ESPN is always wrong. But who will have a breakout game again? Adam Thielen will catch 2 touchdowns on Sunday. And the Vikings will get a big win by the final score of 24-21.
Very similar to my score.
All right. My prediction and bold prediction kind of go in the same. I think we lose to the Redskins.
Woo. Oh, boy.
31-14.
Ooh.
We get destroyed by the Redskins. I think we see another bye week slump, if you will. It will last only one game, but we do see it. We are all depressed for a week. And we say we're 6-3. Well, crap, this sucks because 6-3. How do you come back from 6-3? And we're in a competitive division. There's a good chance that both the Lions and Packers get a win this week. We say we're screwed because we're then both ahead of them by just one game. Both of those teams. We say the season's magic is over. But here's my bold prediction. We are losing so bad at the end of that game that Mike Zimmer says, screw it. Teddy, go on in. Teddy throws a touchdown in this game. We still lose, but we go on to hopefully win a few more. But that's for later predictions.
That's bold.
Shocking almost.
That's actually really bold.
I'm already upset thinking about how we're going to lose this game. But
Nathan, would you like to share the bold?
I got to say what I think.
Nathan, would you like to share your bold prediction on Case Keenum's ACL this week? Or what you would like to see happen to Case Keenum's ACL? Or
Dirk, I've already said too much about this in that podcast. And
anyway.
As I said, I think he goes in just because Mike Zimmer wants him to get some experience. And then he goes in for the Rams as the starter next week.
Anyway, let's look at that is our Vikings recap, but a final couple other quick sports notes this week. to wrap up. First off, we do have a Timberwolves logo on Cedar Field production, so we might as well mention them. 8-4 start to the season. The Timberwolves are looking actually impressive.
7-4.
Oh, what? We're 7-4?
Yeah, the Warriors came into that game 8-3. We were 7-3, but still respectable.
Oh, okay.
But we do lose to the Warriors by about 25, 26 points last
But
night.
it was a close game at the end of the third quarter, and then they pulled away. So while they still show that the Warriors are the class of basketball, the Wolves are coming.
They're going to have to watch for those Timberwolves in the last game of the NBA playoffs.
What I would say is the Timberwolves are actually winning close games this year. They're winning the games they're supposed to. I think that is the Jimmy Butler impact of having another scorer and another person you need to guard. And the defense is slightly better, I would say. But I would like it to be still better at times. I like where this team is heading. And one other team, our final note, that Nathan certainly likes where they're heading is his Iowa Hawkeyes after, wow.
Yes, the Iowa Hawkeyes had a great game against Ohio State, absolutely slaughtering them. I mean, there was at no point in that game where it looked like Ohio State had even a marginal chance of coming back, with maybe the exception of some moments in the first half. But the Iowa Hawkeyes taking care of business and just destroying and exposing what is a weak Big Ten conference.
No, I would say you guys completely obliterated them in the air once their top pass rusher, Nick Bosa, went out for targeting.
And, bold prediction this year, no Big Ten team makes the playoffs. Oh, wait, that's not a bold prediction. That will happen.
I think I agree with Nathan because I don't see Wisconsin going 13.
I think Wisconsin loses in the next 2 weeks. And
Wisconsin will lose to Iowa this week.
Wisconsin loses to the Gophers!
No.
No.
The Gophers are
That's
bad.
only my hopes and dreams.
Dirk, the Gophers are bad. All right, so we had a lot of bold predictions, a lot of predictions this week. Some of them depressing, but hopefully inspiring. Some of them shocking, but also inspiring. So we'll look and see what happens. Needless to say, I would say that these next 3 weeks, if we don't go 2 out of 3 and we don't get that Detroit win, we are screwed. Dirk, opinion on that?
Well, I would have to see what Detroit does, but I would say Detroit looks like a must-win, especially when you get the Lions back half of that schedule. They're only going to lose to us in maybe one other game because it's the NFL. They have one of the easiest back halves of the schedule that I have seen in the NFL, not just this year, but of all time.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
But, Nathan, if we go 1-2 in the next 3 weeks, we're still 7-4. And while it's not the best situation, we only need a couple wins or 3 wins to be in the playoffs.
My only thing is the NFC is a lot more competitive this year, and like Dirk just said, the Lions could be coming for our back. So I don't know. It could be that we need the next 2 out of 3. Could be that we don't. Time will tell. Thank you for listening to this week's of Vikings Rant. I am Nathan Schulte.
I am Dirk Umbenauer.
And I'm Isaac Logeman.
And we will see you next week. Goodbye.